You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma podcast. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today. But before we do, I've got to thank our sponsors. First of all, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. They've been a huge part of this podcast for the last few years. So the Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is the Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. So a huge shout out to Governor Anatoby for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. Our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by Hope is Alive. Hope is Alive exists to radically change the lives of drug addicts, alcoholics, and those who love them. Join us on August 11th at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum for a celebration of hope featuring guest speaker Tim Tebow and musical artist Ben Fuller. Find out more and get your tickets at HIA10.com. This podcast is brought to you by the Oklahoma Beef Council. On behalf of Oklahoma's beef farmers and ranchers, we want to remind you that beef can be part of a heart-healthy diet. To find heart-healthy beef recipes, go to oklabeef.org/recipes. Link below. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode down in Oklahoma City today. It gives me great pleasure to introduce third-time guest on the podcast. I give you a different introduction every time because you've done something different every time you come on. So now, introducing you as chairman of the Iowa tribe, Mr. Jake Keys.
What's going on, man? Glad to be back.
Glad to be back. I mean, this is like the main reason I started the podcast, or one of the main reasons I started the podcast is because of episodes like this, right? You've been on this the third time now, and every episode's different. Mm-hmm. And in the one before, you've said what you're going to do, and then a couple of years later, it happened. So it's been fun to catch up and do things like that. I love doing it. I love seeing your progress. You know, for people listening, the episodes that we've done prior is episode 206 and 399, which I'll link those below. You can go check that out to kind of hear your story chronologically. But the latest thing is being sworn in as chairman.
Yeah, man. It's definitely a journey, right? They always say life's a journey. So, so we just had our tribe, I guess really kind of back up actually. So we had a chairman that resigned, left office. And the way our Constitution works is the vice chairman at that time moves up to chairman, and then the existing committee has to appoint somebody to fill in as vice chairman. And they came to me and talked to me about it, and I agreed to do it, mainly because I knew it would only be for about 9 months, and then I could get back to the brewery and get back to work over there. And it was just the perfect opportunity for me to serve and give back to the tribe. And like we talked about before, you know, I had intended to run for chairman before, and business-wise and coming out of COVID and stuff, I just didn't have that time freed up to do it. So this was a great opportunity for me just to get in there for a little bit and do what I can and then get back to work. But man, you get in there and you kind of see how things are going, and not that things were going bad. We have a great committee and they were doing a great job, but there's just a lot of big projects happening with the tribe, and I just felt like I could help out and you know, have a big impact. I already started to have what I felt like was a big impact on some of these projects, and so I prayed about it and thought about it for, I don't know, a good 3 months, and went back and forth, convinced that I wouldn't run, convinced that I would, and I wasn't. And then I finally decided I had to, you know. So we had our election a couple months ago, and I won by a mere 6 votes.
Wow.
Yeah, which is, we're a small tribe, so it's not like,
Sure.
thousands of votes. But, so yeah, got sworn in a couple weeks ago, and we're off to the races.
Yeah.
So.
Brilliant. Exciting to get in, but also and I know that, because we've previously spoken about it, this is something that, you thought about doing, and then, COVID happens, the business happens, there's so much going on, like I'll put it off, but timing's everything, right? There's time and a season for everything, and it just seemed to work.
Yeah. And, when I thought about that, I've told people that I think a lot of things you get held back in life from doing because you're looking for the perfect time. I mean, how many times you hear somebody say, well, when the time's right, or, whenever I get freed up, I'll do this or I'll do that. And this was definitely not the perfect time, with the way our business is growing and some future plans we have coming up in the immediate future with the brewery. It was really actually probably the worst time for me to do something like this, especially with the projects the tribe has going. So, but I also felt like it was the best time for me to win, to have a shot to win, and you don't know what'll happen. I may not be here a year from now, right? Like you're never promised tomorrow. So I felt like it was an opportunity. You had to jump on.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, again, congrats. It's, it's one of the big box life goal ticks, right? And especially when you say you're going to go do something and then you give them the opportunity and you give it everything you have and you win by just 6 votes. It's, along with all the other stuff you're doing. I'm sure Bobby's thrilled, super happy with everything that's going on, but you're a great understanding wife. So, you guys are a team and you work great together. But it's been going well. You're into it, and
I'll tell you, that's what's interesting about it too. Is like we talk about how there's so much going on with the brewery, but on the tribal side, it's this. So we have 3-year terms, and one of the reasons I ran that is because again I felt like it was important for me to win for our tribe, and I'm not trying to be, big headed about it. I feel like I have an opportunity to make a big impact, but. This will be 3 of the most important years for our tribe and a lot of tribes actually, but specifically our tribe over these next 3 years with projects that we have going as a tribe, but also just the political arena, the issues that are happening in the state with the tribes. And so, I get to be a part of that. I get to hopefully have a big impact on that. Just in the time since I've been vice chairman and now chairman, so many of the people I've gotten to meet from the other tribes, other tribal leaders, and seeing just some of the great stuff that the tribes are doing. I get to be a part of that, and it's going to be a pivotal, time. So we definitely have hit the ground running. There's just a lot happening.
Yeah, it's cool to think that you are going to be a part of history, right? And you're in the room with all these, like you said, it's not, when people look at tribes, and I think a lot of people generally probably, you don't need, they shouldn't look at it this way, but they do. They think of, well, who's the biggest one or whatever it is. Who do one do we hear about all the time? And, you do hear about 2 or 3, but also, there's a lot more, like my Tarrant side of the family is Cheyenne and Arapaho, right? And you very rarely hear about the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribe doing things. But again, like the Iowa tribe, they're very involved. You're in the room. So it's not just about the 2 or 3 big ones that generally the media hear about. It's you collectively, and that's exciting to be a part of.
Yeah, and I think some of that we may be a smaller tribe, but one of the reasons I felt like I could help out is just from my experience in gaming, but also from the brewery and kind of where we're located by the Capitol. I've developed some relationships through my business, through our friends here at the Hall of Fame, and that have gotten me access to legislators and other political figures within the state that I really feel like I can use those relationships and that also just that knowledge I've learned from those people to really help our tribe. And so I think like even the smaller tribes, they play a huge role in the landscape of everything that's happening. So I definitely think, and Cheyenne and Arapaho's also, they actually do a lot. I can remember when they were like one of the first big casinos in the state, and so all these tribes play a huge role, and right now they're all dependent on each other to stick together.
Yeah, we were looking back through kind of like talking to Taryn's dad, my father-in-law, about their history and about Taryn's grandmother, and Taryn's grandmother was the first female chairperson of their tribe, and then they dropped the blood quantum last year, I believe, and so Taryn got her, and she's in now, and her brother are in now. So that happened last year, and to me, I didn't grow up around it at all, right? So it's interesting for me to see that, but it's also really great for me to see how excited she was, to get her card, how be involved in it because of her grandparents and the family history. Her dad's a part of it, but at the same time, it's because of however they structured and changed. It's super interesting, and she's thrilled about it, and it's it's cool for me to see that on because like I said, didn't grow up around it, and I realized how much it meant. I
mean, and I think it's like there's a lot of decisions to be made by tribes around that topic. So if you'd have been here 200 years ago, nobody would be talking about blood quantum, and basically the federal government's theory on that's kind of how you eradicate Native Americans. And so some of the smaller tribes like ours and theirs, we have decisions to make about blood quantum because, the Iowa tribe is one of the more strict blood quantums. You have to be a 16th to be tribal member, and so we're really two families pretty much in our tribe, so nobody's marrying each other in the tribe. And so a couple generations from now, what do you have? We don't have any full-blood Ioways left in our tribe, so that just kind of gets smaller and smaller as we go. So somewhere tribes have big decisions to make. Like I said, these next few years, I think, are some of the biggest years. So. Yeah.
One of the other things that we chatted about, I think probably at the start of the year that you were working on, was the sanctuary you guys have for the eagles, right?
Yep, the eagle aviary. Yep.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So, in fact, we just got through doing a fundraising event at the brewery for the aviary, and there's some construction going on out there that's really improving the facility. But we, the Gray Snow Eagle House is one of the first rescue houses, eagle rescue facilities owned by a tribe, and we're not funded by the federal government or the state, so the tribe fully has to fund it ourselves. A lot of donations go into it, which is why at the brewery that's kind of our number one cause to try to help out. So but they'll get a call in the middle of the night and say there's an eagle down in Kansas or wherever, somewhere in Oklahoma, and they drive out and pick it up, bring it back, and they have a contract, a deal with OSU, which is a big time veterinarian school. So they have all the best care there, and the facilities are great. And I think anybody listening to this that's never heard of that, they should go to Perkins and go check it out. It's an amazing facility. It's kind of just walking through, it's pretty emotional, because I don't think people realize how powerful and how big the birds are, but also the people. One of my cousins, Abraham, he gives the tours, and he does a good job of really telling the story and telling people why the birds are important for our culture. And you walk out of there just having a completely different understanding, not only for our culture but the birds themselves.
Yeah, they're super important.
Yeah,
right? Not just because just the spectacle of the animal, but just like you said, everything it means for your history. Yeah, that's cool to have. Is there anything else, projects that you were aware of or working on that you've been a part of and focusing on for the next 3 years?
Well, our big one is, so we're going to be the first tribe to bring a Harrah's Casino Resort to Oklahoma. Yeah. And so we just announced that a couple months back, and we'll start construction hopefully here towards the end of the year. And we've already started some groundwork and stuff, but to be a resort with a casino, and then a second phase is a hotel, and the whole Caesars Harrah's atmosphere going on there. So that's going to be a game changer for the tribe, but also the area. So it's going to be on Interstate 44, the turnpike, but it's also on 66. So we have the full 66, what is it, 100 years or whatever coming up. So we'll get to be a part of that. And it's just a great location halfway between Tulsa and Oklahoma City. So a lot of people from the state will be able to enjoy it. But it'll be big for that communities, like that whole Chandler, Oklahoma, Wellston area, bring a bunch of jobs, be big for the tribe and the community and the state. That's, I don't think a lot of people understand the economic impact that the tribes have on the state and what we're bringing to the state as far as tax money, jobs, just full on economic. I think right now we're working on 20 something roads and bridges right now that we get federal money that the state maybe wouldn't get or the counties wouldn't get, and we can get it. So we're helping the county build roads and bridges. So these are the things that you get to do more of when you have a resort like that. That just helps you become a bigger player economically. So
well, and kind of just marrying it with Route 66 and being on that, and the kind of the state travel department just helps everything. Everyone who's involved gets the benefit of it. Which is huge, isn't it?
Yeah, and this has been a long process for us too. Like this all started, our committee that's doing it now, we're the ones getting to be here for this part of it, but we've had several committees, tribal committees, chairmans, different people that really got the ball rolling. The idea of putting a resort down there on that property goes all the way back to when my grandpa was chairman. And so a lot of people in our tribe have put a lot of work and thought into this. And we've just had so many things that set us back between COVID and back in the day, there was just some land ownership issues in that area, just a lot of things that we've had to overcome. And so as just somebody who's Iowa tribe member, there's a lot of pride in just seeing that we overcame all that stuff, and now it's actually happening.
Yeah, that's exciting. It's so much, and like I said, as chairman, you gotta, you're in every meeting, right? Yeah. There's so many things going on, which is exciting. It's time consuming, but also, you get to see what everyone's working towards, and you get to have a real impact, and that's being in those meetings is the problem. I think that's what made me decide I had to run. Right? is you just from the outside, it's like, oh great, we're building a big casino, but you get in there and the intricacies of it and the negotiating the contracts and negotiating construction deals and just all the stuff that goes into it. Just my experience from doing construction and building my business. I think it would help me see things a little bit different. But that's when you get in those meetings, and that's when it's like, okay, I need to see this through. I need to at least be here through the end of it. So because you can't get mad if you haven't. You can't get mad at the end of it. When you're like, oh well, I wasn't involved. So
Well, and I'm one of those people. I like to. When I have a project, I want to see it through. Yeah. And so even though I wasn't necessarily, didn't have this big of a role in it when it started, I still want to, I have a hard time just walking away, when it's not even open yet. So.
Right. You kind of tease yourself, right? Yeah. You're like, oh, I'm in now. I have to do this.
Bobby said she knew I was going to run, even though I swore I would only do my 9 months as vice chairman and then that would be it. But she said she knew, and she knew I'd win. So.
Well, that's great. That's awesome. Tell me about the brewery. Where are we at with the brewery? How's things going? Obviously, you're very involved with an event that we have coming up in the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, Born and Brewed. Yep. We have a special beer for that, Hops of Fame, which the can was great last year. Yeah. No, the brewery's doing good. It's probably the toughest time to be a brewery owner because of the heat, inflation, inflation, and then even just trends. So everything that all of our product, all our beers that we make, the cost of it's not cheap to make beer right now. Everything's expensive. Getting the product here is expensive, but nobody wants to pay more for the beer, so you're not raising prices to match your elevated costs. And then the things have changed since COVID. The way consumers behave, the products that they're into. We're kind of in a little bit of a time where I think people are more into cocktails and those things go up and down. I mean, I'm not worried about it long term. Like people have been drinking beer since the days of the pyramids going up, so it's not going anywhere. You just have to be flexible and change some of your approach to it. But and then just our business approach is changing. Like
few years ago, I probably would have said, hey, we're going to be a regionally distributed brand and have beer in several states in the area. And, we may still end up doing that, but now our focus is really turned towards the tap room and doing more tap rooms. And so we're working on a few projects there that we'll probably be coming out with some information on that towards the end of the year. But, this time next year, we may have 2 more tap rooms. We have a casino that's not my tribe, but another tribe, a casino that's this fall we'll have a tap room in. So that our focus is turning towards that tap room experience. It's just a little better margins in the tap room. Distribution is a tough business, and there's a lot of breweries struggling because they're too much into distribution. So we know what we're best at. We're great at creating a great atmosphere and experience in our tap room, and we want to expand that. So that's our future. We're working on a couple of those places having food, so it'll be restaurants. We're gonna try to bring our spin on Native American cuisine to the area. So we're excited about that. And then the beer, the Hall of Fame. This is our second year to do it. Hops of Fame, and last year we collaborated with Roughtail Brewing on that deal, and they're real good friends of ours. That's we grew up home brewing with those guys and stuff, so we've always been close with them. So we decided let's just do that again. And this year they'll come to our place and we'll brew it, and hopefully we get to continue to be a big part of it. I'm not even sure how it happened, but we just became good friends with all these guys here at the Hall of Fame, and we get to see them all the time. And I think we just have a lot of the same taste in beer, so it's just a good mix. But we're excited about that. That's going to be this year's version will be a cold IPA. So it's for the people who don't know beer that much, it's kind of a mix between a West Coast IPA and a lager. So nice, refreshing, hoppy beer, and we'll put that out there for the beer festival that the Hall of Fame puts on. So
I think August 18th. Born and Brewed. I'll put tickets in the link to the description. Basically, it's one-time fee, and there's I can't remember how many breweries, but there's a lot outside in the evening. Basically, just come and sample as much as you want, and
it's one of the few environments for a beer festival where the idea is you get to kind of talk to the brewers and hang out with the brewers a little bit, So I think a lot of our customers come in, and beer festivals are on the decline right now around the country. Like a lot of them are struggling, and not a lot of people are going to beer festivals. But our customers come in, and this is the festival that they always talk about that they really enjoy the most. So I think it'll be exciting.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think, the tickets are online. I'll have to put the link in the description because we moved it outside. It's generally been inside, but because of COVID, they moved it outside, and it went so well the first year that it's like permanently going to stay outside now. Yes, they have backup plan to move it inside because Oklahoma weather is, we don't know until day of. But last year's was fantastic. Year before went really well too. It's just fun to go out, and beer brings people together. Right.
We've got if you've been in our tap room above the taps, there's a saying on the wall real big that was one of my dad's sayings, and it's something as a company that we really live by, which is good beer brings good people together. And that's why I say beer's not going anywhere, like beer's not what a lot of people might think it is of, frat parties and stuff like that. Craft beer really is about community and relationships. And man, I think I've told you this before, I love walking in our tap room, and some of our regulars, I'll see a guy that I know well who's definitely Republican, and he's having a beer with another guy I know who's definitely Democrat, and they're just getting along and having a good time. And there's white people and black people and natives and everybody, and it's just none of that matters when you're drinking a craft beer and just enjoying yourself, and that's community coming together.
You're totally right, and it's people forget about their differences, right? And they're drinking a beer and talking about life, or they're just talking about the beer that they have in front of them. And that's you got so many people who walk into your brewery every day that have their own brewery story, or wish they homebrewed, or might be homebrewing soon, right? Like because that's kind of how your story starts. The craft brewery scene is a very unique scene.
I still remember the first time drinking a beer with my dad, and I remember the last time I sat at a bar and had a beer with my dad, and I know that maybe almost every day there's somebody having that experience at our bar, which is why, again, another reason for us to focus on the taproom business as opposed to just distribution. So
yeah, 100%. You're right. Beer brings people together, and there's and for people listening, go back and listen to the first podcast we did, and you share the story of you and your dad, and just taking work off that day, right? Just like, I don't need to go to work today. Let's take off and go and have a beer with your dad, and that whole story, and just saying, one day we're gonna have a brewery, and you have Skydance, and it's I know it went through some struggles trying to build it, right? It wasn't the best time to build something and everything that was going on, but you have a wonderful facility in a great location.
I don't know that I really did know what I was getting into. Like, I know a lot of brewery owners that were just home brewers like I was, and maybe never ran a business before. I think they got into it and didn't realize how tough business was, and then now, especially for breweries, business is tough. But I knew what I was getting into for the most part, and even for me, it's there's been some tough times and a lot of stress. I work harder now than I ever have in my life, and that was before I got into office at the Tribe. But when you're doing your thing, it really doesn't seem like work did when you worked hard as a younger guy. So it's man, I look back, I think we talked about this before, I don't get a lot of opportunities to just sit back and go, wow, look what we've done. Usually it's when I'm talking to you on here, but it is interesting to look back and just be like, man, look at all this stuff that's happened. And through all the things that have happened, through COVID and through construction issues and banking issues and stuff, it's been one heck of a journey for sure.
Yeah. That's what makes it worth doing, though, isn't it? When you get there and you're like, I could go back to, selling cars, or I could go back to being security guard at the, the casino, whatever it is that you've done through your journey that was, a stable, quote, job, and you're like, no, it's much more fun doing this. Yes, it's 10 times the work, but the reward is 10 times as great, and that feeling of just sitting in your tap room. And, and you get these moments, sometimes where, you just walk in early one day, or you're there, the last one there at night, and you're like, this is actually mine. I own this, and I'm drinking my own beer. I'm sure those feelings are just incredible.
There are so many times. So, now all the recipes are mine, but I don't brew near as many of the beers as I did, even like a year ago, and, but there's times I get there early in the morning and I'll get a batch started before I have to go to work at the Tribe or whatever, just to help out, and I'll get there real early, and it's still, those mornings are nice, it's quiet and maybe still kind of dark outside, and I get in there and I mash in, and you smell the grain, and then I'll finish my coffee, and I'll just sit there and I'll look around at all the tanks and the equipment, and that's that moment. That's when I'm kind of like, man, I almost can't believe that this is here,
right.
So
pinch me moment for sure. We connected because I was on your podcast back in the day. I mean, obviously you don't have a lot of time, but is the podcast ever coming back?
Man, we talk about this all the time. Like it needs to come back, and I want it to come back. I have a hard time just getting the social media content for the brewery out that we want to do. We also had the YouTube channel for the brewery that I thought was great. It's just hard. It's hard for me to execute. I think I definitely will have. I still pay for the podcast, the subscription to keep it up and all that kind of stuff. So we're definitely going to bring it back. I just has to change a little bit of what it's all about, or the frequency of it. I give it up to you. I don't know how you put these out so much, but I definitely, it'll come back. I'm working on some other stuff though too, that's like for the Tribe. So one of the things when I got elected that tribal members talked about was just they wanted there to be more communication and more openness about what's going on, just more information sharing with tribal members. members. And so I'm actually putting together, with the help of one of my cousins, it was actually her idea, but I'm going to put together something like a chairman's corner, but it'll be some video content so that'll be either weekly or monthly or something, where I sit down with one of the departments of the tribe and they can tell tribal members about, what's going on with the clinic. Because like right now we're about to build a big brand new clinic up there in Perkins, and so there's all these departments have all these projects going on, and tribal members just want to know about them and be kept in the loop a little bit. And so I'm gonna do some of that content, and I think that'll be something new that you don't see with a lot of the tribes. There's the bigger tribes, there's some of them, Anatubby does a good job on their website. He's got a page where he'll put something up, I think every month or whatever. A lot of them do a good job of that. I don't know, a lot of them have done video stuff, and I think we're kind of that age now. It's like video content, works, and people want to watch it. So,
well, it's more personal, I think, video than just an email or a document that's been, like a press release or whatever. They get to see you, don't they? They get to see, whatever it is you were in that day.
Well, and with the resort being built, I think it's like if they can see that visually, some of the process of it, that'll help.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing that you're very big on is obviously you're a diehard OU fan.
Yeah.
Which wasn't the greatest season last year.
No.
But exciting times ahead. How you feeling about the SEC?
I got mixed feelings about it.
Yeah.
So actually, since we've been sitting here, my phone's like vibrating in my pocket because I've got a couple buddies are in a group text, and we've been talking football all morning. We've been talking about just that very thing. But like, I don't know. I feel like it just had to happen. I think part of the reason that OU over the past several years would get to the playoffs and then kind of fall short, and they clearly were outclassed every time they got into the playoff, is from being in a conference that just wasn't up to par, and it didn't force them to recruit at the level they needed to recruit at and play at the level they needed to be at. So I definitely think that moving to the SEC is going to make them a better team down the road. I don't know that a better team wins the conference every year like they were in the Big 12, but I think some of these SEC folks think that OU doesn't know what they're getting into, and this is OU, right? I mean, we invented championships, so I think OU knows what they're getting into. And recruiting has been great these couple years with Brent Venables, and in fact today, actually, the reason my phone's been vibrating, I say we, I don't know why I do that with OU, but Brent Venables got the number one running back in the country committed today. And so it's looking like over the next couple of weeks, they're going to get the number one defensive lineman in the country. So recruiting is looking great. And it's like Barry Switzer said, it's not about the X's and O's, it's about the Jimmies and the Joes. And they're getting the Jimmies and the Joes. So
it's going to be awesome. I'm obviously sad to see Bedlam go because it's just fun to watch.
Too.
Obviously you'll still have the Texas game and everything, and obviously we got one more season before they make the jump. But it's I have Eddie Radosevich coming on in a couple of weeks, couple of days. He's coming on Monday. Mm-hmm. And he's just done an SEC Media Day, so I can't wait to hear what he's going to talk about. Because it's fun for those guys too. It's not just the team, right? It's everybody that gets to go to a new conference. You got all the video camera guys, you got the cheerleaders, you got, absolutely everyone that's involved, right? You think of Malcolm Tubbs who's doing he's on the mic during the game. Like, he's calling huge games now, and he's out there, and Voiceless Sooners, Toby, like it's huge for everybody, and people just think of the football team, but it's not just football team fans. Like it's
I think it's a good fit. I think the fans fit the SEC fans. I think you're talking about one of the most storied programs in history, so you should be in the best conference. And then I definitely think that what's going to be interesting the first few years is all the OU connections in the SEC. So I think that first year, Josh Heupel will bring Tennessee in, and there's a little history there with Josh Heupel. He's not OU fans love him, but there was things didn't end well with him getting fired by Bob Stoops and stuff. And then Beamer at South Carolina is a former OU coach, and there's a lot of little ties there that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. The other thing is that you're a huge Atlanta Braves fan.
Yeah.
Which When is your son's birthday?
So the 26th of this month. Yeah.
So I will put this out after, just so you don't ruin the surprise, so you can talk about it. But you have a pretty cool trip planned for your son's 15th birthday.
Yeah, so we'll be going. He'll be his second trip to Atlanta. So his name's Maddox. So I named him after Greg Maddox, from the Braves, the great '90s pitcher. Only because his mom didn't like the name Chipper very well. So, so we're taking the family to a Braves series next weekend. They'll be playing the Brewers. And the Braves are by far the best team in baseball right now, the best record in baseball. So it'll be exciting to actually, he went 2 years ago. We went to just he and I went is actually like 3 days before we opened the brewery.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was chaos because we thought we were going to be open much sooner than that, and I'd already planned the trip. But anyways, so we get to go back and take the whole family this time, and he's excited about that. And it's kind of the last little trip before school starts, But then the big thing is the Braves just became a publicly traded company this week, and so I patiently waited online for that to go through and happen, and then I was able to snatch up a couple shares of the Braves. So as of this morning, Maddox is part owner of the Braves. So he'll get that for his birthday too. So he'll be definitely excited to be his first time to go to a Braves game as an owner. I don't know if they're going to let him in the suite, but
just walk in with your ownership certificate. Yeah. You're taking like, hey guys, I own however much percent it is.
Well, and he'll have Maddox on the back of his shirt. They might just let him right in. You never know.
That's gonna be brilliant. It's such a cool, such a unique, great opportunity to to be an owner of anything, and for the Braves to do that, but also as be a birthday present for your son, and have it just be the second trip you guys have done. Because I remember we talked about it on the last podcast. You took his first trip out there 3 days before the brewery opened.
Yeah. He said that was the best day of his life. So I don't know if we're gonna be able to top that or not.
Even if you do next year, you're really gonna have to work hard. I mean, his 16th birthday's the car year, right? So you're gonna have to work hard on that one.
Well, and if you take an owner to a game, it's gonna have to be like the World Series or something.
Brilliant. Talking of cars, you're still Bobby's still driving the Jeep? Still part of the Jeep?
No, we got rid of the Jeep, man. Yeah, I got somebody
tired of waving at people and handing out ducks.
Yeah, she's driving this god awful Mini.
Oh no,
Cooper. Yeah, so we had to get rid of that
subject.
thing. Yeah. We got rid of it so I could get a truck.
Okay.
And then since I got a truck, she had to get the Mini Cooper. So I miss the Jeep though. I miss being part of the club. I miss waving at I think I still wave at people. I do the Jeep wave. Sometimes I forget. Even though I was anti-Jeep wave, when I got the Jeep, I hated that. I was like, why are these people waving at me like that? And the next thing you know, I'm doing it.
Part of the club.
Yeah.
It is a pretty cool club to be a part of, I'm sure. Everyone I've spoken to that's in it says it's great. So, we're kind of coming towards the end of summer. Fall is just the best time of year. Are you still putting out beers every other week or week? Like
every Friday, man. Yeah. And it gets tough, especially right now, because since we're known for IPAs, not next week, but the week after is National IPA Day.
Okay.
And so, of course, we got to do something big for that. And so we'll have 5 new IPAs released that day, all of them with the new can design, and still have our new beer release each Friday leading up to it and then coming out of that. Yeah. And so it's been a tough few weeks in the brewery with the brewing staff, and then even just I'm getting up early in the morning, get my coffee, and then I'm working on recipes and can designs and ordering cans and labels. And so it's just a lot that goes into trying to put out 5 new beers in one day. Yeah. So, but we'll make a big ordeal out of it, and it's usually one of the biggest days of the year for us. And then as soon as that's over, we start planning for our anniversary, second anniversary in October. So
coming up.
Yeah.
That the IPA thing, and just people don't probably realize what goes into every week you're designing a new can, right? And are you doing it? Do you have, because I know you have guest artists and do stuff and collaborations and stuff as well. You got to do 52 every year, right?
I need more help with it, but we have 3 sources. So one of them's Mint Apparel. My buddies John and John, they do the majority of our labels. And then today I actually just met with Robot House, who did our core lineup redesign, and so they're going to start chipping in on some of the one-offs as well. But then what our favorite thing to do is we have what we call our Native Art series, and we try to do about one a month, where it's some of our good friends that we have that are Native American artists, and we try to go for a lot of the ones that are kind of up and coming, but we throw in some of the more well-known, like D.G. Smalling or Brent Greenwood. We've done a bunch with those guys, but it's basically where we use their artwork on the label. Usually it's an existing artwork, and then a couple times we've had, they made something for the can design. But so we do a lot of those. We'll have one of those for IPA Day. We've got that one is probably going to be one of the coolest ones, so people need to pay attention to our social media for that. I think it may be my favorite native art label we've done so far. But I need somebody. So you got some people out there listening to the podcast, man. I need some artists.
We need to figure that out too, because there's a lot of cool things going on. And one thing about Oklahoma City is it's not short of artists, right? We've got plenty of people going on, and the good thing about the label is, you got 52 to design every year, right? So it's not like you have it's not like it's, hey, this is going to be just one a year. No. Come on down. We got plenty of designs.
Especially when it's 5 for IPA Day, and we'll probably do 5 or 6 new ones for the anniversary. And I think John at Mint Apparel, they're an apparel company.
They also love still trying beer too.
But they stay pretty busy just running their other part of their business. But I think we're running them crazy, with these can designs. But they've been there for it. I think when I first told them what I wanted to do, that I want to do one every week, they were half excited and half kind of like, oh man, I don't know. But they've run with it, and they do a good job. But I know it would help if they could get a break from time to time and
for sure.
find somebody else to help.
What kind of goes into, say for example, if we were to collaborate, and I'm from Wales, and we did a Wales and Skynet's, what goes into it? Because I think that the Welsh logo is the greatest flag in the world. It's got a red dragon on it. It looks incredible. How does all that process go?
Something like that, you'd probably want to pick a time of year or an occasion that matches well with that, and then of course
coronation or whatever
something. And then it's like the beer style would obviously need to be some sort of English ale, pub ale or something, and then but for us, we have, one of the great things John and John have done is they've created like a template where it's like, hey, you give us the artwork, and we'll come up with a beer name, and then I'll create the beer, the recipe, and then we just slap the artwork on the can, and they do a good job of making it fit and look right. But if I find a good artist, we'll figure out a way to put it on the can.
That's the other thing in Wales is very good at, is being an artist and singing. I don't have any of those. That's why probably I'm better off out here than back home. But no, it's really cool to have that, and I'm sure there's plenty of people that come to you with that opportunity. You don't have to spend too much time going searching for 52 new logos and 52 new collaborations every year. You've got the ideas there, and because you have so many to do every year, you don't have to worry about multiple people. You're like, hey, let's figure it out.
Well,
to do it.
And we talked about the challenges of the craft beer business right now. When one of the ways to bring in new customers is collaborations. We collaborate with somebody, and now their customers. We just recently did a beer with JB and the rapper, local guy here, JB Williams, and then his friend who's an artist. So we did a Juneteenth project with them, and I know that night was a lot of people in our tap room that haven't been to our tap room that said, hey man, I've never been here before. I can't believe I didn't know about it. So you gain new customers and through collaborations. So we're always down for that.
Yeah. Finishing up, you still have your coin in your pocket?
Oh, did I
think
bring it?
I've asked you this last time.
Did I bring it? I always
There we go. There it is.
Yeah, I always have this with me. So we actually did a beer. I don't know if it was before. Yeah, it's after the last podcast, I think.
Yeah.
So we did a Memento Mori beer.
Okay.
An Italian Pilsner. And it sold great. But it was great to kind of use that as an opportunity to educate people about Stoicism and just kind of some of the things that motivate me and stuff. So that was fun. But yeah, definitely carry it every single day. I think some people that I told about it maybe a year or two ago, they like to test me to see if I really do carry it every day. But yeah, I always have it with me. So good reminder.
Yeah, definitely. Well, dude, thanks so much for coming down. You're a chairman now. I could probably not call you dude or mate. But no, thanks for coming down again. Our yearly check-in on the podcast.
Yeah.
Can't wait to check in next year or to see how things are going. And I need to get out to the Avery to see it. And then obviously, the casino that's coming to Harrow is going to be massive. And we need to go tee it up sometime.
Oh, I know.
Every time you ask me, I'm always busy, which is
now I'm chairman and I play for free. So you let me know.
Let's go play golf. Awesome. So for people listening, I'll put a link to the Tribal website and also a link to Jake's business, Skylines Brewing, and we will catch you next episode. Cheers. Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by Hope is Alive. Hope is Alive exists to radically change the lives of drug addicts, alcoholics, and those who love them. Join us on August 11th at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum for a celebration of hope featuring guest speaker Tim Tebow and musical artist Ben Fuller. Find out more and get your tickets at HIA10.com. This podcast is brought to you by the Oklahoma Beef Council. On behalf of Oklahoma's beef farmers and ranchers, we want to remind you that beef can be part of a heart-healthy diet. To find heart-healthy beef recipes, go to oklabeef.org/recipes. Link below.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.